"Sir, I'm going to ask you to leave." The beautiful woman behind the front desk didn't even touch her keyboard. Instead, she stared at the tattoos covering the man's neck, looked at the sleeping little girl in his arms, then smiled with disgust. "We don't rent rooms to men who look like criminals." The five-star hotel lobby fell completely silent. Several guests looked away. A bellboy lowered his head. Even another employee behind the desk looked embarrassed. The little girl slowly opened her eyes. "Daddy, did we do something wrong?" The man looked down at his daughter, smiled gently, and quietly shook his head. "No, sweetheart. Sometimes people judge what they don't understand." He didn't argue. He didn't raise his voice. He simply turned around and started walking toward the exit, until a young hotel employee suddenly ran after him. "Sir, please wait. If you don't mind staying in a simple staff room, your little girl doesn't have to sleep outside tonight." The man looked at her for several long seconds. She had no idea. The stranger she had just defended wasn't a homeless father. He was Luca Moretti, the ruthless mafia boss who secretly owned every hotel in the building behind her. And before the sun came up, her single act of kindness would expose a betrayal worth billions. The beautiful receptionist didn't even bother checking the reservation system. Instead, she slowly looked at the tattoos covering the man's neck, then at the sleeping little girl resting peacefully on his shoulder, and finally at the worn leather travel bag hanging from his arm. A mocking smile appeared on her face. "I'm sorry, sir. We don't rent rooms to men who look like criminals." The luxurious hotel lobby instantly became silent. Guests stopped walking. Two bellboys exchanged nervous glances. Even another female employee, standing a few feet away, lowered her eyes in embarrassment. The little girl slowly opened her sleepy eyes. "Daddy, did we do something wrong?" The man gently kissed her forehead. "No, sweetheart. Sometimes people judge people before they know them." He didn't argue. He didn't become angry. He simply turned around and started walking toward the exit, until a soft voice stopped him. "Sir, please wait." A young hotel employee hurried toward him. She looked no older than 29. Her name tag read, Sophia Bennett, Senior Guest Relations Executive. Unlike everyone else, she wasn't looking at the tattoos. She wasn't looking at his clothes. She was looking at the little girl whose tiny hands had turned cold from the winter night. Sophia smiled gently. "If you don't mind staying in a staff guest suite, your daughter doesn't have to spend the night outside." The man looked at her for several seconds, then quietly nodded. "Thank you." Sophia smiled. "Please follow me." Neither of them realized the stranger she had just defended wasn't an ordinary father. His real name was Luca Moretti. For more than 20 years, that name had terrified organized crime across America. Officially, Luca Moretti was one of the country's most successful businessmen. His company owned luxury hotels, shipping lines, real estate developments, private security firms, casinos, and investment groups worth billions of dollars. Unofficially, he ruled one of the most powerful mafia organizations in the world. Politicians requested meetings with him. CEOs competed for his partnerships. Entire crime families disappeared after betraying him. Yet almost nobody knew what he actually looked like. Luca preferred it that way. Power was strongest when it stayed invisible. 3 years earlier, everything in his life changed. His wife, Elena, lost her battle with cancer. Before taking her final breath, she held Luca's hand and whispered only one request. "Promise me, no matter how powerful you become, raise Mia to be kind." He had kept that promise every single day. Money could buy protection. Power could destroy enemies, but neither could replace a mother's love. Since Elena's death, 7-year-old Mia had become the center of Luca's entire world. She was the only person capable of making the feared mafia boss smile. That was exactly why Luca personally inspected every hotel he owned without revealing his identity. Every few months, he chose one property, arrived without bodyguards, dressed like an ordinary traveler, and asked himself one simple question: if nobody knew I owned this place, would they still treat me with respect? Tonight, the Grand Imperial Hotel had already given him its answer. As Sophia quietly led them toward the employee elevators, several staff members secretly watched. One young receptionist whispered, "Vanessa is going to fire her." Another employee sighed, "She always helps people. One day it's going to cost her everything." Inside her glass office overlooking the lobby, front office director Vanessa Collins watched everything through the security cameras. 35 years old, elegant, confident, feared by almost every employee. Guests believed she was the perfect hotel executive. Only the staff knew the truth. She screamed at housekeepers over tiny mistakes. She publicly embarrassed junior receptionists. She accepted expensive gifts from wealthy VIP guests while refusing service to anyone who looked poor. In Vanessa's world, appearance meant everything. Kindness meant nothing. She picked up the office phone. "Security." A guard answered immediately. "Yes, Miss Collins. I want every camera on the 4th floor employee suites. And don't let that girl leave the hotel before speaking to me." "Understood." Vanessa ended the call. A cold smile spread across her face. "So, you finally made the mistake I've been waiting for, Sophia." Meanwhile, Sophia opened the small employee guest suite. "I'm sorry," she said apologetically. "It isn't luxurious, but it's warm, and your daughter can finally get some sleep." Luca looked around the room. Simple furniture, fresh blankets, spotless floors, nothing expensive, everything cared for. Sometimes simple kindness felt more valuable than 5-star luxury. He carefully placed Mia on the bed. She never even woke up. Sophia quietly covered her with another blanket. Without asking permission, she turned on the room heater, then noticed there was no bottled water. "I'll be right back. And please, don't worry about paying. My employee meal allowance can cover dinner." Before Luca could answer, she disappeared into the hallway. He stood silently beside the bed, watching his daughter sleep. Then his expression slowly changed. The tired father disappeared. The Mafia Boss returned. He removed a secure encrypted phone from inside his jacket. Only one message waited. "Marco, boss, perimeter is secure, but we intercepted unusual encrypted activity inside the hotel network. Someone is transmitting your location." Luca stared at the screen. His instincts immediately came alive. He slowly walked toward the window overlooking Manhattan. Without replying, he simply typed 4 words. "Keep watching. Don't interfere." Across the lobby, hidden behind an open newspaper, a man quietly lowered the pages, raised a tiny camera disguised as a pen, and secretly photographed room 417 as Sophia returned carrying dinner. He smiled, pulled out an encrypted satellite phone, and typed only 6 words. "Target confirmed. He's inside the hotel." Then he pressed send. The encrypted message traveled hundreds of miles in less than a second. Inside an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of New York, a black phone vibrated on a steel table. A gloved hand slowly picked it up. The message contained only 6 words. "Target confirmed. He's inside the hotel." The man sitting in the darkness smiled. "So, he finally came." His face remained hidden beneath the shadows. Only his voice could be heard. "Don't touch him yet. I want to know who helps him." The call ended. Silence returned. Somewhere inside the Grand Imperial Hotel, a trap had already been set. Completely unaware, Sophia pushed open the door of room 417 carrying a dinner tray. Fresh chicken soup, warm bread, hot chocolate, and a small slice of chocolate cake. She smiled. "I wasn't sure what your daughter likes, so I brought a little of everything." Luca stood from beside the window. "You didn't have to do this." Sophia laughed softly. "My grandmother always said, no child should ever sleep hungry." She placed the tray on the table. Just then, a tiny voice came from the bed. "Is that chocolate?" Sophia turned around. Mia was rubbing her sleepy eyes. She immediately smiled. "Only after you finish your soup." Mia looked at Luca. "Daddy, can I?" Luca smiled. "I don't think either of us can say no to her." Within minutes, the room felt completely different. Mia happily ate while telling Sophia about her favorite cartoons, her favorite color, her teddy bear, even how she secretly hated broccoli. Sophia laughed so naturally that Mia couldn't stop talking. Luca remained unusually quiet, not because he had nothing to say, because he hadn't seen his daughter this happy with someone new in years. After Elena's death, Mia rarely trusted strangers, yet tonight she looked completely comfortable beside Sophia. Finally, Mia looked at Sophia and asked, "Do you know bedtime stories?" Sophia smiled. "Hundreds." "Really?" "Hundreds." She picked up an old children's book from the shelf and sat beside the bed. For the next 15 minutes, she gave every character a different voice. Mia laughed, corrected her whenever she skipped a sentence, then slowly fell asleep holding Sophia's hand. Sophia gently moved her hand away without waking the little girl. She quietly stood. "I'm glad she's smiling again." Luca looked toward his daughter. "So am I." There was a brief silence, then Sophia asked carefully, "Can I ask you something?" "You can." "Why did you stay so calm downstairs?" Most fathers would have yelled. Luca looked out the window. Anger usually creates more problems than solutions. Sophia nodded thoughtfully. "I wish more people believed that." Before Luca could answer, Sophia's work phone vibrated. Vanessa Collins calling. Sophia sighed. "I should probably answer." The moment she picked up, Vanessa's cold voice came through. "Where are you?" "Room 407. I know exactly where you are. My office. 5 minutes." The line disconnected. Sophia closed her eyes. "I think I'm in trouble." Luca spoke calmly. "You helped someone tonight. If they punish you for kindness, they don't deserve you." Sophia smiled politely. "I appreciate that. But jobs aren't easy to replace." She looked one last time at sleeping Mia. "I'll come back later to check on her." Then she quietly left the room. As soon as the door closed, Luca removed the calm smile from his face. He took out another encrypted phone. One message was already waiting. "Marco, we traced 3 unauthorized data transmissions from inside the hotel within the last 30 minutes. Someone is feeding your location to an outside contact." Another message appeared immediately after. "Our cyber team believes one hotel employee is involved. Identity unknown." Luca slowly deleted both messages. Then he typed only one reply. "Nobody moves. I want the traitor to feel safe." Meanwhile, Sophia entered Vanessa's office. Vanessa didn't ask her to sit. She simply stared at her. "You've embarrassed this hotel," Sophia answered calmly. "I helped a child. You disobeyed your director. I followed my conscience." Vanessa slowly smiled. "You're suspended, effective immediately." Sophia lowered her eyes for a moment, then quietly placed her employee ID card on the desk. "If kindness costs me my career, I'll accept that." She turned and walked out without another word. Vanessa watched the door close, then opened the bottom drawer of her desk. Inside, hidden beneath several files, was a small black burner phone. She dialed a number from memory. "It worked," she whispered. "The girl has been removed from room 417. A deep voice answered. "Excellent. What about the man?" "He's still inside." The voice became colder. "Good. Then before sunrise, make sure neither he nor the little girl ever leaves that hotel alive." Vanessa slowly looked toward the security monitor, showing room 407. For the first time that night, she smiled. Vanessa slowly lowered the burner phone. She looked once more at the live security monitor, showing room 407. Then she whispered to herself, "By morning, both of you will be gone." She locked the phone back inside her drawer, fixed her blazer, and walked out of her office as though nothing had happened. No employee suspected the elegant front office director had just signed the death warrant of 2 innocent guests. Meanwhile, Sophia quietly cleaned out her small locker. A few family photos, a coffee mug from the staff Christmas party, a notebook filled with guest compliments collected over 6 years. That was all. Mrs. Martha, the elderly head housekeeper, walked over with tears in her eyes. "They suspended the wrong person." Sophia forced a smile. "It's all right. No. Mrs. Martha shook her head. You've helped everyone in this hotel. When my husband was sick, you secretly paid for my medicine. When Emma's son needed surgery, you collected money from the staff. You've spent 6 years helping strangers. Sophia looked down. I never wanted anyone to know. Mrs. Martha gently hugged her. Good people never do. Several employees slowly gathered around. One by one, they hugged Sophia. Even the young receptionist Vanessa had humiliated earlier started crying. You were the only manager who treated us like family. Sophia smiled through her tears. Take care of each other. Before she could leave, a tiny voice echoed through the hallway. Sophia. Everyone turned. Mia came running as fast as her little legs could carry her. She wrapped both arms around Sophia's waist. You're leaving. Sophia knelt down. I have to. Mia's eyes immediately filled with tears. But you promised you'd read me another story. Sophia's heart broke. I know. I'm sorry. At that moment, Luca appeared at the end of the hallway. He had witnessed everything. The hugs, the tears, the employees. Nobody reacted this way to someone who was dishonest. This wasn't respect. This was love. He quietly walked toward Sophia. I believe my daughter still owes you a thank you. Mia reached into her pocket. She pulled out a tiny friendship bracelet made of colorful beads. I made this at school. I want you to have it. Sophia's hands trembled. For me, Mia nodded. Because you're my first friend. Sophia hugged her tightly. I'll treasure it forever. Luca watched silently. For the first time since Elena's death, someone had made his daughter smile without expecting anything in return. At that exact moment, Marco's encrypted phone vibrated. His expression changed instantly. Boss. Luca looked at him. What is it? Our cyber team found something. Marco handed him a tablet. Hotel security footage. 3rd floor. Timestamp. 11:47 p.m. The screen showed Vanessa standing beside an emergency exit. Seconds later, a man wearing a maintenance uniform walked inside. Instead of signing the employee log, Vanessa quietly handed him a master keycard. Marco froze the image. That man isn't one of our engineers. Luca's eyes narrowed. Where did he go after this? Marco tapped the screen. That's the problem. He disappeared. No camera picked him up again. Someone had intentionally erased part of the security footage. Luca immediately understood. This wasn't just corruption. Someone inside his own hotel had been preparing this operation long before he arrived. Just then, one of Marco's men rushed into the hallway. Boss, we've got movement. What happened? 4 men just entered through the underground employee entrance, wearing hotel security uniforms. Marco frowned. They're not ours. Luca calmly looked toward Mia, still holding Sophia's hand, then toward Sophia herself. She had no idea what kind of danger was about to reach this floor. He made his decision instantly. Turning toward Sophia, he spoke in a calm but firm voice. Sophia, I need you to trust me. She looked confused. What happened? There isn't time to explain. He gently picked up Mia, then looked directly into Sophia's eyes. Whatever happens during the next few minutes, don't leave my daughter's side. Sophia stared at him. For the first time, she saw something completely different in his eyes. Not fear, not panic, authority. The kind of authority that couldn't be learned, only earned. Before she could ask another question, the lights throughout the entire 4th floor suddenly went out. Darkness, complete silence. Then, the emergency backup lights flickered on. At the far end of the corridor, 4 silhouettes slowly appeared, walking toward room 416. The emergency lights flickered across the empty hallway. Red, white, red, white. 4 men dressed in hotel security uniforms walked slowly toward room 416. They didn't rush. Professional killers never did. Sophia instinctively stepped in front of Mia. Who are they? She whispered. Luca's eyes never left the men. They're not hotel security. Marco quietly moved beside him. His voice was barely audible. Boss, Team Alpha is already on this floor. They're waiting for your order. Luca slowly shook his head. No. Marco looked surprised. They'll expose themselves too early. We still don't know who the mastermind is. The fake security team stopped only a few feet away. Their leader smiled. Good evening, sir. We received a report about suspicious activity. We need you to come with us. Luca smiled back. A strange request, especially from men who don't even work for me. The leader's smile disappeared. So, you finally recognized us, Luca calmly replied. The shoes gave you away. The men looked down instinctively. Our security department changed to tactical boots 6 months ago. You four are still wearing last year's uniform. For the first time, the attackers realized they had made a mistake. The leader slowly reached inside his jacket. So be it. Before he could pull out his weapon, Sophia suddenly stepped forward. Stop! Everyone froze. She stood between Luca and the armed men. You don't belong here. I'm calling the police. The attackers looked at each other, then laughed. One of them sneered. Move, sweetheart. This isn't your problem. Sophia refused. No, you'll have to go through me first. Luca stared at her. She still believed he was just an ordinary father. She had absolutely no idea these men carried automatic weapons, yet she refused to move. For a brief second, something inside Luca changed. Very few people had ever stood in front of danger to protect him. Even fewer had done it without expecting anything in return. The leader sighed impatiently. Enough. He pulled out a suppressed pistol. The hallway instantly fell silent. Sophia's face turned pale. She had never seen a real gun pointed at her before. Still, she didn't move. Behind her, Mia clung tightly to Luca's hand. Daddy, I'm scared. Luca gently squeezed her hand. It's all right, princess. Close your eyes. She immediately obeyed. The attacker raised his weapon. Last chance. Move. Sophia slowly spread her arms wider. No. The gunman pulled the trigger. Click. Nothing happened. He looked down in confusion. His magazine was gone. Marco smiled. Looking for this? He held the magazine in one hand. None of the attackers had even noticed him remove it. The leader's eyes widened. Kill them. The hallway exploded into chaos. 2 attackers rushed Marco. Another charged toward Luca. The 4th tried to grab Mia. He never reached her. Luca moved with terrifying speed. One powerful strike sent the attacker crashing into the marble wall. Another reached for a knife. Luca caught his wrist, twisted it. The knife clattered across the floor. Sophia stood frozen. The quiet father she had met only hours earlier had completely disappeared. Every movement was controlled, precise, effortless. Like a man who had survived hundreds of fights. Within seconds, Marco and 2 hidden bodyguards emerged from opposite ends of the hallway. The attackers realized too late they had walked into a trap. One surrendered immediately. Another tried to run toward the emergency stairs. A bodyguard tackled him before he reached the exit. Only the leader remained standing, breathing heavily, his pistol empty, his escape blocked. Luca slowly walked toward him. The hallway became completely silent again. He stopped only inches away. Who sent you? The man smiled through broken teeth. You really don't know, do you? Luca's expression didn't change. The attacker laughed. You've spent years looking outside your empire for enemies, when your biggest enemy has been sitting inside it. He looked directly toward Sophia, then toward Vanessa's office. Luca followed his gaze. Everything suddenly made sense. The room denial, the hidden phone call, the fake security team, the master key. None of it had been random. Before anyone could ask another question, Marco's earpiece crackled. Boss. His face became serious. We've located Vanessa Collins. She's not running. She's inside the executive conference room, destroying financial records. Luca slowly turned toward Marco. A cold smile appeared on his face. No, she's destroying evidence, which means she knows we've already won. Sophia stood speechless. She looked at Luca, then at the unconscious attackers lying across the hallway. Finally, she whispered, Who are you really? Luca looked directly into her eyes, then calmly answered, I'm the man who owns this hotel. Silence, complete silence. Sophia could only stare at him in disbelief. Sophia couldn't speak. "I'm sorry. I don't understand. You own this hotel." Luca looked at her calmly. "Not just this one. The entire Moretti Hotel group." The hallway became silent. The employees who had witnessed the fight slowly gathered at a distance. None of them could believe what they had just heard. The quiet father, who had been insulted only hours earlier, was the owner of everything around them. Sophia looked down, embarrassed. "I'm so sorry. I should have offered you the presidential suite." Luca gently smiled. "And then I would have learned nothing." He looked around at the frightened employees. "I came here because I wanted the truth, and tonight I found it." 5 minutes later, the hotel's grand ballroom was opened. Every employee on the night shift was ordered to report immediately. Receptionists, housekeepers, bellboys, managers, security, everyone. Nobody knew why. Vanessa entered confidently. She had already changed into another blazer, pretending nothing had happened. When she saw Sophia standing beside Luca, she laughed. "So, you actually convinced the guest to complain about me?" She looked toward Luca. "Sir, don't believe everything she says. This employee has always been emotional." Luca didn't answer. Instead, he nodded toward Marco. The giant ballroom screen suddenly turned on. Security footage began playing. The room fell silent. The first clip showed Vanessa refusing rooms to elderly guests because they looked poor. The second clip showed her accepting expensive watches from VIP guests in exchange for luxury suites. The third clip showed Vanessa secretly handing a master key card to the fake maintenance worker. Gasps echoed across the ballroom. Vanessa's face turned white. That's edited," Marco calmly spoke. "We recovered the deleted files from the hotel servers. There are over 200 recordings, and every one of them has already been copied to the police." Vanessa slowly stepped backward. "No, you can't prove." Before she finished, 2 detectives walked into the ballroom. "Vanessa Collins, you're under arrest for conspiracy, corruption, evidence tampering, and assisting in attempted kidnapping." Handcuffs clicked around her wrists. She looked desperately toward Luca. "You don't understand. I wasn't the real boss. I was following orders." Luca walked closer. "Whose orders?" Vanessa hesitated. Fear filled her eyes. Then she lowered her head. "I've never met him. I only received instructions. He paid millions." Marco quietly nodded. "We'll find him." The detectives escorted Vanessa away. As she passed the employees, not a single person defended her. Instead, several junior staff members quietly applauded. Mrs. Martha smiled through tears. One young receptionist whispered, "It's finally over." Luca turned toward everyone. "For years, you believed fear was leadership. It isn't. Respect is." He looked directly at Sophia. "When every other employee looked at my clothes, you looked at my daughter. When everyone else protected the hotel's image, you protected a child. That is true hospitality." The ballroom remained completely silent. Luca removed a small black box from his pocket. Inside was a gold general manager name badge. He walked toward Sophia. "Effective immediately, I'd like to introduce the new general manager of the Grand Imperial Hotel, Sophia Bennett." The ballroom exploded into applause. Housekeepers cried. Bellboys cheered. Even senior managers stood and applauded. Sophia couldn't stop the tears. I don't know what to say." Luca smiled. "Say yes." She laughed through her tears. "Yes." 3 months later, the Grand Imperial Hotel had completely changed. Employee satisfaction reached its highest level in company history. Guest complaints dropped dramatically. Sophia's kindness had transformed the entire culture. But the biggest change was waiting at Luca's mansion. Every weekend, Sophia visited to spend time with Mia. They baked cookies, read bedtime stories, played in the garden. For the first time since Elena's death, the mansion felt alive again. One evening, Sophia tucked Mia into bed. "Good night, sweetheart." The little girl smiled sleepily. "Good night." She paused, then innocently whispered, "Good night, Mum." The room became silent. Sophia froze. Before she could answer, she noticed Luca standing quietly at the bedroom door. He had heard everything. Mia quickly covered her face. "I'm sorry. I forgot." Sofia gently kissed her forehead. "You never have to apologize for speaking from your heart." She turned toward Luca. Neither of them spoke. No words were needed. Later that evening, they stood together on the mansion balcony, overlooking the city lights. Luca placed a small silver key in Sofia's hand. She looked down. "What is this?" "The master key. To this mansion?" Luca smiled. "To every hotel I own." Sofia looked at him, confused. Luca took a slow breath. "The night we met, you gave a complete stranger a room without knowing his name." He stepped one pace closer. "Today, I'd like to give you a place where you'll never have to ask for one again." Sofia's eyes filled with tears. "So, is this your way of asking me to stay?" Luca smiled for the first time without hiding it. "No. It's my way of asking if you'll build a future with me, and with Mia." Sofia looked toward the little girl watching them through the bedroom window with the biggest smile on her face. She laughed softly, then placed her hand in Luca's. "I'd love to." Inside the mansion, Mia jumped up and down happily. I knew she'd say yes. Luca wrapped his arm around Sofia as the city lights stretched endlessly before them. For the first time in years, the mafia boss who owned billions of dollars realized the greatest thing he had ever found wasn't another hotel. It was the woman who had offered a room to a stranger. The end.